What if I told you that surviving 30 days in a luxury mansion could make you a millionaire, but those 30 days might actually kill you? My name is Maya Lawson, and I was trapped in a house with two people who saw me as an obstacle worth removing, permanently. The rules were simple. Stay 30 days, inherit millions. Leave early, lose everything. But nobody mentioned that someone would try to murder me before the month was over. This is the story of how greed, family secrets, and a billionaire's twisted final game nearly destroyed us all, and somehow brought us together. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was teaching a painting class at the community center in Brooklyn when my phone rang. Unknown number from Connecticut. Is this Maya Lawson? Yes, who's calling? This is Gregory Hamilton, attorney for the late Robert Carmichael. I'm sorry to inform you that Mr. Carmichael passed away 3 days ago. His will specifically names you as a beneficiary. Your presence is required at the reading tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Carmichael estate in Greenwich. Robert Carmichael, my stepfather, the man who'd married my mother when I was 16 and who'd been more of a father to me in 7 years than my biological father had been in my entire life. Dead. What happened? I managed to ask. Heart attack, very sudden. Again, I'm sorry for your loss. Will you be able to attend the reading? Yes, I'll be there. I hung up and stared at my phone. Robert was only 68. He'd seemed healthy, vibrant. He ran marathons, for God's sake. A heart attack? The next day, I drove to Greenwich in my beat-up Honda Civic, feeling completely out of place as I passed through gates into the Carmichael estate, a sprawling 15-acre property with a mansion that looked like something out of a Gothic novel. I'd only been here a handful of times. After my mother died 4 years ago from cancer, my relationship with Robert had become strained. His biological children, Victoria and Nathan, had made it clear I wasn't really family, just the daughter of the woman their father had married in what they called his midlife crisis. A butler Robert actually had a butler showed me to a library where Victoria and Nathan were already seated. Victoria Carmichael, 35, looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Designer suit, perfectly styled blonde hair, cold blue eyes that assessed me with barely concealed disdain. Maya, how nice of you to come, she said, her tone suggesting it was anything but nice. Nathan Carmichael, 32, sat beside his sister. He'd always been friendlier than Victoria, but today he just nodded curtly in my direction. I'm sorry for your loss, I said. I know how much you both loved him. Did you? Victoria asked sharply. Because you barely visited after your mother died. You were too busy with your little art projects in Brooklyn to spend time with the man who supported you through college. The accusation stung because there was truth in it. I had pulled away. Partly because Victoria and Nathan made every visit uncomfortable, and partly because being at the estate without Mom felt wrong. Before I could respond, Gregory Hamilton entered. He was in his late 40s, with silver-streaked dark hair and an intensity that made me immediately uncomfortable. Thank you all for coming, he said, setting down a leather briefcase. I know this is difficult. Robert's death was unexpected and tragic. Before we begin, I want to express my condolences to all of you. Let's just get this over with, Victoria said. What did Father leave us? Hamilton pulled out a laptop. Robert's wishes were quite specific. He recorded a video will that I'm now going to play for you. He turned the laptop screen so we could all see it. Robert's face appeared tan, healthy, smiling. It was jarring to see him so alive. Hello, my children, Robert began. If you're watching this, I'm gone. I hope I lived a long life and died peacefully, but knowing my luck, it was probably something dramatic. He chuckled at his own joke. None of us laughed. I've spent a lot of time thinking about my legacy, Robert continued. Not just my money, though. God knows there's enough of that to fight over, but my real legacy, my family. And I've realized something troubling. You three barely know each other. Victoria, Nathan, you've never accepted Maya as your sister. Maya, you've never tried to be part of this family. You've all been polite, but distant. Separate. On screen, Robert leaned forward, his expression serious. So here's what I've decided. My entire estate, approximately $50 million in cash, stocks, properties, and assets, will be divided equally among the three of you. But there's a condition. Victoria sat up straighter. Nathan leaned forward. You must spend 30 consecutive days together at the estate, all three of you, living together, eating together, getting to know each other. If all three of you complete the 30 days, you each inherit equally. But if anyone leaves for any reason, and I mean any reason, they forfeit their share to the remaining siblings." "That's insane," Victoria said. Robert's video continued. "I know this seems harsh, but I believe that if you give each other a real chance, you'll discover you're stronger together than apart. This family has been broken for too long. Consider this my final wish, heal what I couldn't fix while I was alive. Gregory Hamilton will oversee everything and verify compliance. The 30 days begin the day after the reading of this will. Good luck, my children. I love you all." The screen went black. We sat in stunned silence. "This is ridiculous," Victoria finally said. "Father can't force us to play house for a month." "Actually, he can," Hamilton said. "The will is legally binding. If you want your inheritance, you comply with the terms. If you refuse to participate, your share goes to charity." 30 days, Nathan said quietly. "That's not so long." "Easy for you to say," Victoria snapped. "You don't have a business to run. I have meetings, obligations." "Worth walking away from $16 million? Hamilton asked. That shut her up. "When do we start?" I asked. "Tomorrow, you'll move into the estate. Gregory will be staying in the guest house to monitor compliance. The household staff will remain to provide meals and maintain the property, but they've been instructed not to assist with any attempts to circumvent the rules." "What are the rules exactly?" Nathan asked. Hamilton pulled out a document. "You must all sleep in the mansion every night. You can leave the estate grounds for up to 4 hours per day, but only if all 3 of you agree. No extended trips. No overnight absences. If anyone leaves and doesn't return within 24 hours, they forfeit their inheritance. Video monitoring has been installed throughout the house to verify compliance." "Video monitoring?" I said. "He's watching us from the grave?" "He wanted to ensure fairness," Hamilton replied. "The footage will only be reviewed if there's a dispute about whether someone violated the terms." Victoria stood abruptly. "Fine. 30 days. I can tolerate anything for 30 days. But Maya," she turned to me, "don't think this makes you family. You're just an obstacle between me and my inheritance." She walked out, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Nathan gave me an apologetic look. "She's just upset. About Dad dying. Don't take it personally." But I knew better. Victoria had always seen me as an interloper, and now I was standing between her and millions of dollars. This was going to be the longest 30 days of my life. I moved into the estate the next day with a single suitcase of clothes and my art supplies. The mansion had 12 bedrooms, but Hamilton assigned us 3 specific rooms in the east wing, close enough that we couldn't avoid each other, far enough that we'd have some privacy. My room was beautiful in an impersonal way. Antique furniture, expensive linens, artwork that probably cost more than my annual rent. But it didn't feel like home. It felt like a museum. Victoria arrived in a Mercedes SUV packed with enough luggage for a year-long trip. She'd apparently decided that if she had to be here, she'd be comfortable. Nathan showed up last, looking exhausted. He worked in finance in Manhattan and had dark circles under his eyes from too many late nights at the office. We had an awkward dinner that first evening catered by the estate chef, eaten in a dining room designed to seat 20 but occupied by just 3 of us. "So," Nathan said, trying to break the uncomfortable silence. "Maya, how's the art thing going?" "It's going well," I said. "I teach classes, sell some pieces at galleries. It doesn't pay like investment banking, but I love it." "How charming," Victoria said, not looking up from her phone. "Father must have been so proud that his investment in your education resulted in you teaching finger painting to children." "Victoria," Nathan said warningly. "What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Father paid for her to go to Yale, and she's living in a studio apartment in Brooklyn making barely above minimum wage. It's a waste." "Not everyone measures success in dollars," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "No, just the smart people do." I put down my fork. "You know what, Victoria? I don't know what I did to make you hate me so much. I never asked for your father's money. I never tried to replace you. I was just a kid whose mom fell in love with your dad, that's all. You want to know what you did?" Victoria leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "You existed. You and your mother came into our lives right after our mother died." Her body was barely cold, and there was Father with some pretty woman and her teenage daughter, playing happy family. "Do you have any idea how that felt?" "Your mother died 3 years before my mom met your father," I said quietly. They didn't even meet until... It doesn't matter. The point is, you're not my sister. You never will be. And after these 30 days, I never have to see you again. She stood up and left the dining room. Nathan sighed. She's always been protective of Dad's memory, of Mom's memory. She took it really hard when Dad remarried. I understand that. But Nathan, I can't spend 30 days being attacked every time we're in the same room. I'll talk to her. We'll figure this out. We have to. There's too much money at stake to let emotions ruin this. That night, lying in the unfamiliar bed, I wondered if I should just leave. Walk away from the money, from the hostility, from this whole mess. But something Robert had said in the video stuck with me. You've never tried to be part of this family. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd given up too easily after Mom died. Maybe these 30 days were a chance to finally bridge the gap between me and my step-siblings. Or maybe I was just being naive. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of something crashing. My heart pounding, I sat up in bed. The mansion was dark, silent. Had I dreamed it? Then I heard it again. A loud thump, like something heavy falling. It was coming from somewhere downstairs. I grabbed my phone and crept to my bedroom door. The hallway was dark except for the dim emergency lighting along the baseboards. Nathan? I called quietly. Victoria? No response. I made my way down the hallway to Nathan's room and knocked. Nathan? Are you awake? The door opened. Nathan stood there in pajama pants and a t-shirt, looking confused. What's going on? I heard something, downstairs, like something falling or breaking. Probably just the old house settling. This place makes noise all the time. That wasn't settling. It was loud. Victoria's door opened. She wore a silk nightgown and an annoyed expression. Can you two keep it down? Some of us are trying to sleep. Maya heard something downstairs, Nathan explained. So, the staff is probably cleaning or something. At 3 a.m., I said. Victoria rolled her eyes. Fine, let's all go investigate the scary noise so Maya can feel safe. We went downstairs together. I flipped on lights as we went, the chandelier in the foyer casting dramatic shadows across the walls. The sound had come from the direction of the library. When we got there, we found the source of the noise. A large oil painting had fallen off the wall and crashed to the floor, its ornate frame splintered. See? Victoria said. The hanging wire probably broke. Old houses, old hardware. Mystery solved. Can we go back to bed now? But something felt wrong. I walked closer to examine the painting. The wire hadn't broken, it had been cut. I could see the clean slice through the metal. Someone cut this, I said, showing them. Nathan frowned. That doesn't make sense. Why would anyone? To scare Maya, Victoria said flatly. Congratulations, you found your excuse to leave. You can forfeit your share and go back to Brooklyn. I'm not leaving. Then stop being paranoid. Victoria turned and walked away. Nathan lingered. Are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine, just jumpy, I guess. But I wasn't fine. As I walked back upstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had cut that wire deliberately. Someone wanted me scared. The question was, who? Over the next week, more accidents happened. On day 3, I nearly slipped on the main staircase. Someone had spilled oil on the top step. I caught the railing just in time to avoid tumbling down 15 marble stairs. The cleaning staff must have been careless, Hamilton said when I reported it. But the staff swore they hadn't cleaned that area recently. On day 5, I found broken glass in my bed, small enough pieces that I didn't notice until I felt something sharp against my leg. When I stripped the sheets, there were shards scattered across the mattress. Maybe you broke a glass and didn't realize it? Nathan suggested. But I hadn't had any glass in my room. On day 7, the brakes on one of the estate cars I was borrowing failed. I was driving into town for art supplies when the brake pedal went to the floor. I managed to stop by downshifting and using the emergency brake, but it was terrifying. The mechanic who examined the car said the brake line had been cut. Deliberately? I asked. He nodded. Clean cut. Someone knew what they were doing. I confronted Victoria and Nathan that evening. Someone is trying to hurt me, or scare me into leaving, and I think one of you is behind it. Victoria laughed. Oh, this is rich. Now you're accusing us of sabotage? Who else would benefit from me leaving? Literally anyone who wants your share of the inheritance. Victoria shot back. The staff, for instance. Or maybe you're doing this to yourself for attention. You always were dramatic. Why would I risk my own life? For sympathy? To make us look bad? I don't know, Maya. Why do you do anything? Nathan held up his hands. Everyone calm down. Maya, I understand you're scared. These accidents are concerning. But Victoria and I have been with you most of the time. When would we have had opportunity to... You have every opportunity, I interrupted. We're living in the same house. You could sabotage my room, my car, the stairs, anytime you wanted. But why would we? Nathan said. If you get hurt badly enough that you have to leave for medical treatment, you forfeit your share. Which means Victoria and I only get 2/3 instead of half. We'd actually benefit more from you staying healthy. He had a point. If I left, they'd each get $25 million instead of $16.6 million. But if I died or was incapacitated enough to leave permanently, they'd split the entire inheritance. Unless you want me dead, I said quietly. The room went silent. That's insane, Victoria said, but her voice wavered slightly. Is it? If I die, you two inherit everything. $50 million, $25 million each. Maya, that's crazy, Nathan said. We're not trying to kill you, I swear. Then who is? Nobody had an answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, jumping at every sound. Around 1 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate footsteps that stopped outside my door. I held my breath, watching the door handle. It turned slowly, testing to see if the door was locked. It was. I'd made sure of that. The footsteps retreated. I waited 20 minutes, then crept to my door and opened it slightly. The hallway was empty. But I noticed something. A door at the end of the hall, one I'd never paid attention to before, was slightly ajar. I walked toward it quietly. It opened to a narrow staircase leading up. The attic, I realized. I'd never been up there. Against my better judgment, I climbed the stairs. The attic was enormous, filled with decades of accumulated furniture, boxes, and forgotten belongings. Dusty sheets covered old furniture, boxes were stacked haphazardly, cobwebs hung from the rafters. And in the corner, I found something that made my blood run cold. A laptop, still open and running. On the screen were multiple camera feeds, views of different rooms in the mansion. My bedroom, Nathan's bedroom, Victoria's bedroom, the hallways, the library, the dining room. Someone had been watching us, all of us. I heard footsteps on the attic stairs. Panicking, I ducked behind a stack of boxes just as someone entered. Through a gap between boxes, I saw a figure male, dressed in dark clothes. He went straight to the laptop and began reviewing footage, fast-forwarding through hours of recordings. Who was this? A member of the staff? An intruder? Then he turned slightly, and I saw his face in the laptop's glow. Gregory Hamilton, the lawyer. What was Robert's attorney doing in the attic at 1 a.m., watching secret camera feeds? I waited until he left, counted to 100, then made my way back down to my room. My hands were shaking as I locked the door. Hamilton had set up surveillance beyond what Robert had authorized. He was watching us, monitoring everything, but why? The next morning, I pulled Nathan aside after breakfast. We need to talk, privately, not in the house. He looked confused but agreed. We walked out to the estate's garden, far enough from the mansion that we couldn't be overheard or watched. What's going on? Nathan asked. Last night, I found Hamilton in the attic. He's set up cameras everywhere, unauthorized surveillance. He's watching all of us. Nathan's expression darkened. Are you sure? I saw it with my own eyes. Multiple feeds, different rooms. Nathan, this goes beyond what Robert authorized in the will. Hamilton is spying on us. Why would he do that? I don't know, but I think he's connected to the accidents. Maybe he's trying to eliminate one of us. Nathan was quiet for a moment. There's something I haven't told you. Something Victoria and I discovered a few days ago. What? We were going through Dad's papers, personal stuff, not the estate documents, and we found some letters. From someone named Margaret Hamilton. Hamilton? Like Gregory Hamilton? We think so. The letters were from about 35 years ago. She was claiming that Dad was the father of her son, that they'd had an affair. She was asking for financial support. My mind raced. Gregory Hamilton is Robert's illegitimate son? We don't know for sure. But the timing lines up. Gregory would be about the right age. And Hamilton isn't exactly a rare name, but the coincidence is suspicious. Did Robert acknowledge him? Support him? Not from what we can tell. The letters were in a box labeled "Handled by previous attorney." We think Dad's lawyer at the time paid her off to go away quietly. Gregory might not even know he's Robert's son. Or he does know, I said slowly. And he's angry about being denied his inheritance his whole life. Nathan, think about it. If all three of us die or leave, who gets the inheritance? Charity, according to the will. But who would contest that? Who has standing to claim that they should have been included in the will? Nathan's face went pale. An unacknowledged biological son. We stared at each other as the implications sank in. He's not trying to scare just you away, Nathan said. He's trying to eliminate all of us. Make it look like accidents or like we violated the will's terms. And then he'll come forward with proof that he's Robert's son and contest the entire will. We need to tell Victoria. She's not going to believe us. She already thinks you're being paranoid. Then we need proof. We need to find out for sure if Hamilton is Robert's son, and we need evidence that he's behind the accidents. Nathan nodded slowly. Okay, but Maya, if we're right about this, Hamilton is dangerous. We need to be careful. We spent the next 2 days investigating quietly. Nathan used his finance connections to dig into Hamilton's background. I searched through more of Robert's old papers, looking for anything about Margaret Hamilton. Victoria noticed us acting strangely and confronted us. "What are you two plotting?" she demanded. Nathan and I exchanged looks. We had to tell her. "Victoria, we think Gregory Hamilton is Dad's illegitimate son," Nathan said, "and we think he's trying to kill us so he can contest the will and claim the entire inheritance." I expected her to dismiss it as paranoia. Instead, she went very still. "What makes you think that?" We showed her the letters from Margaret Hamilton. We explained about the surveillance equipment. We detailed the pattern of accidents targeting me. Victoria listened, her expression unreadable. Then she said, "I've noticed something too. Hamilton has been asking a lot of questions about how we're getting along, whether anyone is thinking about leaving, and he's been encouraging division between us. Little comments about how Maya isn't really family, how this is just a formality. He's been trying to turn us against each other," I said. "Because if we're fighting, we're not working together to figure out what he's doing," Nathan added. Victoria looked at me for a long moment. "I owe you an apology. I've been horrible to you, partly because I resented you, but also," she paused, "also because Hamilton suggested that you were planning to manipulate Nathan and me out of our inheritance. He made it sound like you were scheming, that I needed to protect our interests." "He's been manipulating all of us," I said. "So what do we do?" Victoria asked. "We need concrete proof," Nathan said. "DNA evidence that he's Dad's son, evidence that he's behind the accidents, something we can take to the police." "I'll get the DNA," Victoria said. "I can get a sample from Hamilton, a coffee cup, a water glass, and send it for testing along with something of Dad's. That'll take a few days, but it'll be definitive. I'll review the surveillance footage," I said. "If Hamilton is sneaking around causing these accidents, there might be evidence on his own cameras. And I'll go through Dad's legal files," Nathan added. "See if there's any record of Hamilton being paid off or acknowledged." For the first time since this began, we were working together. Over the next week, we gathered our evidence carefully. Victoria managed to get a sample from Hamilton's coffee cup and sent it to a private DNA testing lab, along with a sample from Robert's hairbrush. She paid extra for expedited results. I snuck back up to the attic when Hamilton was off the property. The surveillance system was password protected, but I'd seen him type it in a sequence I'd memorized. I downloaded hours of footage onto a flash drive. Nathan discovered a sealed file in Robert's safe labeled "Personal Do Not Open." Inside were documents confirming that Robert had known about Gregory Hamilton for years. Margaret Hamilton had contacted him when Gregory was born, claiming paternity. Robert's attorney at the time had arranged a one-time payoff of $100,000 in exchange for Margaret signing away any future claims. But there was also a more recent document, a letter from Gregory Hamilton himself, dated 2 years ago, demanding recognition and a share of the estate. Robert had apparently refused. "He knew," Nathan said, reading the letter. "Gregory contacted Dad directly 2 years ago, saying he discovered the truth about his parentage. He wanted to be acknowledged, to be part of the family, to be included in the will. And Dad said no?" I asked. According to these notes, Dad offered him money, a generous settlement, but refused to acknowledge him publicly or change his will. He said his children were Victoria, Nathan, and you. That Gregory was an unfortunate mistake from his past, but not his family. It was harsh, but it also gave Gregory a clear motive. When I reviewed the surveillance footage, I found exactly what I was looking for. Footage of Hamilton entering my room at night and placing the broken glass in my bed. Footage of him spilling oil on the stairs. Footage of him in the garage working on the brake line of the car. He'd been meticulous about avoiding the official cameras, but he hadn't realized some of his own hidden cameras would catch him in the act. I showed the footage to Nathan and Victoria. "That bastard," Victoria said. "He's been trying to murder Maya." "Not just Maya," Nathan said. "Look at this footage from 3 days ago." He showed us footage of Hamilton tampering with the gas line in the kitchen. It hadn't caused an accident yet, but it was clearly sabotage waiting to happen, one that could have killed any of us. "He's not just targeting one person," Nathan said. "He's creating a situation where accidents keep happening until all three of us either leave or die. Then he contests the will as the biological son who was wrongfully excluded." "We need to go to the police," I said. "Not yet," Victoria said. "We don't have the DNA results back. Without proof that he's actually Robert's son, his motive isn't clear. And a good lawyer could argue that the surveillance footage is inadmissible since we obtained it by accessing his private system without permission. So, what do we do?" Victoria smiled a cold, calculating smile. "We confront him, but carefully. We set a trap. We planned it carefully. Victoria would tell Hamilton that she was thinking about leaving, that the stress was too much, that the inheritance wasn't worth it. We'd make it seem like his plan was working, like we were about to crack." That evening, Victoria approached Hamilton in his guest house. "Mr. Hamilton, I need to talk to you about the will." Through a hidden microphone Victoria wore, Nathan and I listened from the main house. "Of course, Miss Carmichael. Is everything all right?" "No, everything is not all right. These past 2 weeks have been a nightmare. The accidents, the tension with Maya, the time away from my business. I'm thinking about leaving. I know I'd forfeit my share, but I can't do this anymore." "That would be unfortunate," Hamilton said. "Are you sure you want to throw away millions of dollars?" "I have my own money. I don't need my father's. But I need my sanity." "What if I told you there might be another option?" "What do you mean?" There was a pause. We could hear Hamilton moving around, the sound of a door closing. "Miss Carmichael, I'm going to share something with you in confidence, something that could benefit both of us." "I'm listening." "Your father and I had a complicated relationship. I don't know if you're aware, but Robert Carmichael was my biological father." Victoria pretended to be shocked. "What? That's impossible." "It's true. My mother had an affair with him 35 years ago. I only discovered this 2 years ago, and I reached out to him hoping for recognition. He refused. Offered me money but wouldn't acknowledge me as his son. Wouldn't include me in his will. I'm sorry, Mr. Hamilton, but I don't understand why you're telling me this." "Because the will is flawed. Robert had 4 children, not 3. I should be entitled to a share, and I'm prepared to contest it in court. That could take years, unless we work together. If you leave voluntarily, the inheritance goes to Nathan and Maya. They split it 50-50. But if all 3 of you leave or die, the entire estate reverts to probate, and I have grounds to claim it as the unacknowledged biological son. However, if you were to support my claim, testify that your father was unfair and mentally unbalanced when he made the will, we could settle this much more quickly. And I'd be willing to share the inheritance with those who helped me." "How much of a share?" 40% for me, 20% for each of you. You'd each still walk away with $10 million, and you'd be free of this ridiculous 30-day requirement immediately." Victoria pretended to consider it. "What about Maya? Would she agree to this?" "Maya doesn't need to agree. In fact, it would be better if she didn't know. She's always been your father's favorite, the one he actually chose, rather than being obligated to by blood. She'd never support my claim." "So, what are you suggesting?" Hamilton's voice dropped lower. "I'm suggesting that sometimes accidents happen, especially in old houses with staircases and gas lines and other potential hazards. If Maya were to have a serious accident, one that required her to leave for medical treatment, she'd forfeit her share. Then it would just be you, Nathan, and me. And I think Nathan could be convinced to support my claim for the right price." Victoria's voice went cold. "You're talking about hurting Maya, possibly killing her. I'm talking about unfortunate accidents, things that happen in old buildings, nothing that could be directly traced back to anyone. Like the brake line on her car, the oil on the stairs, the broken glass in her bed. There was a long silence. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, because you caused all of those accidents. And we have proof. Nathan and I burst into the guest house. I was recording everything on my phone. Hamilton's face went white, then red with fury. You're wearing a wire? This is entrapment. Actually, it's just good planning, Nathan said. We know everything, Gregory. We know your dad's son. We know you contacted him 2 years ago and he rejected you. We know you've been sabotaging Maya to force her to leave or hurt her badly enough that she'd have to forfeit her inheritance. And we know you were planning to contest the will once all 3 of us were out of the picture. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can, Victoria said. She pulled out a folder. DNA test results came back this morning. You're definitely Robert Carmichael's biological son, which gives you motive. We also have surveillance footage from your own cameras, showing you tampering with Maya's car, sabotaging the stairs, and planting broken glass in her room. And we have the recording we just made of you admitting your plan. Hamilton stared at us, his expression shifting from anger to calculation to resignation. He rejected me, Gregory said quietly. My whole life, I wondered who my father was. My mother told me when I was dying. Said she'd made a mistake keeping it from me, that I deserved to know. So I hired a private investigator, found out it was Robert Carmichael. I was excited my father was a billionaire, a successful man. I thought he'd be happy to meet me. But he wasn't, I said. He treated me like a mistake. An embarrassment. He offered me money like I was some blackmailer trying to extort him. He said I wasn't his son, not really. His children were Victoria, Nathan, and you. He looked at me with hatred. You. Not even his biological daughter. Just the child of some woman he married. But you were his daughter, and I wasn't his son. Do you have any idea how that felt? I'm sorry Robert hurt you, I said. But that doesn't justify attempted murder. I wasn't going to kill you, just scare you into leaving. Then I could contest the will, claim my rightful place in the family. You tampered with gas lines, Nathan said. That could have killed all of us. I was going to fix it before anything happened. I'm not a killer. I just wanted what should have been mine. We called the police. Detective Sarah Morrison arrived with 2 other officers and arrested Gregory Hamilton for attempted murder, fraud, and a dozen other charges. We'll need all your evidence, Detective Morrison said. The surveillance footage, the DNA tests, the recording. This is a solid case. As they led Hamilton away in handcuffs, he looked back at us. You're all playing right into Robert's hands. Don't you see? This is exactly what he wanted. What are you talking about? Victoria asked. The 30 days, the will, all of it. It's a test, and you're passing with flying colors. The 3 of you working together, overcoming an external threat. He's manipulating you even from the grave. The officers put him in the car and drove away. After Hamilton was taken away, the 3 of us stood in the foyer, shaken and exhausted. We talked honestly for the first time about Robert's manipulation, about why he set everything up so dramatically, and about how we'd failed to see each other as real family. Victoria apologized for treating me like an intruder. I admitted I'd never tried to belong. Nathan pointed out, we still had 13 days left, not because we had to finish them, but because maybe we actually wanted to. The next morning, Nathan found a sealed letter from Robert meant to be opened only after the external threat was gone. We read it together. Robert admitted he'd known about Gregory all along and had let him handle the will deliberately. He wrote that Victoria and Nathan had never accepted me and that I'd never fought for my place. He wanted us to be forced into a situation where we had to rely on one another and finally see each other clearly. He also left Gregory a separate $5 million trust and added a hidden clause. If the 3 of us completed 30 days and demonstrated genuine care, the estate would be divided 4 ways, $12.5 million each. If we only tolerated each other, the original 3-way split would stand. When we finished the letter, we sat in silence. He really did manipulate us, Victoria said. But he tried to help Gregory too, Nathan added. Victoria asked what we should do next. I said we should actually try to be a family, not just finish the days out of obligation. Nathan agreed. After a long pause, Victoria apologized for 7 years of coldness and resentment. I apologized for holding back and assuming she'd never accept me. Nathan tried to suggest a group hug. Victoria rolled her eyes but smiled for the first time. It felt like the beginning of something real. The last 13 days felt completely different from the tense first half. We finally really talked about our fears, grief, and hopes. Victoria admitted she'd once seen my mother as a replacement and hadn't realized how much resentment she carried. Nathan confessed he'd gone into finance only to live up to Robert's expectations. I shared how alone I'd felt after losing my mom and how I'd assumed I'd never fit into their family. We discovered we actually had a lot in common. We all loved old film noir, secretly watched terrible reality TV, and missed Robert despite his flaws. We even talked about Gregory, how Robert should have acknowledged him, and how we probably wouldn't have welcomed him either, which meant we bore some responsibility too. We spent the rest of the days enjoying each other's company, board games, movie nights, cooking disasters, sharing interests. Nathan asked about my art. Victoria helped me set up investments. For the first time, the mansion felt like a real home. One evening, Nathan quietly admitted he didn't want this new bond to end. Victoria suggested monthly dinners and holidays together, and we all agreed. Then she said something unexpected: she wanted Gregory to receive his full inheritance. Nathan reminded her the trust was only $5 million, but she insisted the will intended an equal split if we proved we cared for each other. She believed giving Gregory his full share was an act of compassion he desperately needed. After thinking it over, I agreed. Nathan did too. We decided, together, to honor Robert's intent and to give Gregory the chance he never got. On the 30th day, we met in the library where everything had started. Patricia Chen, the executor, reviewed the staff interviews and the surveillance footage. After finishing her assessment, she told us we had passed the test. Our interactions showed real care, support, and affection. We had become a family. She announced the estate would be divided evenly, $12.5 million each to Victoria, Nathan, me, and Gregory. We asked that Gregory receive his full share despite everything. Because of his charges, his portion would be placed in a court-managed trust, but he would still get it. Patricia then handed over a final letter from Robert. "I'm proud of you. You've become the family I hoped for. The real inheritance is each other." 6 months later, we returned to the mansion for Thanksgiving by choice, not obligation. We decided to keep the estate as shared property and make holidays here a new tradition. Victoria had left her high-stress job to start a foundation for women entrepreneurs. Nathan went back to school to study environmental science. I opened an art gallery in Brooklyn. The inheritance had given all of us the freedom to build the lives we actually wanted. We even visited Gregory in prison. We told him he was still part of the family and would receive his full share. He broke down, apologized, and promised to do better. We told him the door was open if his actions matched his words. Now, sitting around the Thanksgiving table with friends and each other, Nathan raised his glass. "I'm grateful this worked. That Dad's wild idea actually made us a family." We toasted to Robert and to family in all its forms. Outside, the season's first snow fell over the estate. Inside, we were warm and together. The true inheritance wasn't the money. It was us three strangers who found each other, chose each other, and became a family. This is Maya Lawson, reminding you that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses you even when it's hard. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more suspenseful family drama stories. Leave a comment. Have you ever had to overcome family conflict for an inheritance? How did you handle it? What do you think about Robert's methods, manipulative or brilliant?